first traveled to Kenya in March of 2007 with my high school, the Westminster Schools in Atlanta. And in Kenya, I really had one of the most transformative experiences of my life. Meeting students who seemed so much like me, who had hopes and dreams for their future, who loved learning, and who also struggled with their parents just like any other child. But those similarities ended there. They studied in schools that were crumbling. They had dirt floors, they had holes in their roofs, they had chalkboards that were coming off the wall. And the interactions I had with these kids was really what changed my whole perspective. I remember a specific conversation I had with a 12-year-old girl who was asking me about the role of women in society. And she was so inspired by Hillary Clinton running for president of the United States and wanted to know if that could be replicated in Kenya. And for me, it wasn't so much the question that she asked, but the realization that this girl knew so much about the American political system, yet was destined for a life in the coffee fields because of a Kenyan education system that mandates a standardized test in English, where the top 20% of test takers are the only ones admitted into secondary school. And this girl comes from a rural background. Children from rural areas are incredibly disadvantaged when it comes to this test because they both suffer from a lack of educational resources, no libraries, no English books to read, and then in their home lives, their parents are speaking Kikuyu, not English, because they live in an ethnically homogeneous area. So realizing that it wasn't just 20% that were going to be able to go on, but it was almost like 5% from the schools that I visited. And that seemed like such an injustice to me. I really could not justify that in my heart. And so I returned to Atlanta, just kind of overcome with this reality. And so I set out, I started meeting with my friends and family, mentors, adults, anyone who would listen to what I had to say. And I just really wanted to figure out how we could make a change. And luckily, a lot of people thought it was an interesting idea, and we came up with a plan after partnering with our communities to create holistic change for schools in East Africa. And from there, EACEF really was born.
So in efforts to actualize some of the programs that the EACEF team had developed since Andrew came back from his exchange program in 2007, initiatives ranging from classroom construction to or classroom renovation to library construction, even on into microfinance type lending and mentorship programs have been implemented in our schools across East Africa, ranging from our pilot project at Kiramar Primary School right outside Nyeri, Kenya, on into Fort Portal, Shalom Junior School in Uganda, and even on to Sate in Rwanda. And in working with a lot of these schools, we have strongly advocated a method of what we call a partnership, in that we aim to work directly with community leaders to develop programs according to their needs, not necessarily what we think they need. Especially as kids coming from high school, we really hope to develop strong personal connections with a lot of these communities. And in working with them to develop these specific programs, we've realized that a lot of the needs could actually fall under some sort of umbrella, which we now call the Nafasi process, Nafasi meaning opportunity in Kiswahili. And this Nafasi process, we've been able to successfully replicate at all of our partner schools up until this point.
When the President Kibaki, the President of Kenya, visited our school in February this year, he was amazed at what Mount Kenya Academy has been able to do with the children around. And the local minister, the Minister for Gender and Children's Affairs, Honorable Esther Murugi, said that Mount Kenya Academy is actually ahead of government in the sense that the government has been looking at feeding programs in the needy areas, in the dry areas of Kenya, and they have not yet done something about it. Mount Kenya Academy has actually acted and been one of the first schools to realize that that can make a difference to the lives of children.
So imagine at the end of your 8th grade year, you have to take what's the equivalent of the SAT, and you have to take it in Spanish, which may not be your primary language. And imagine you have to take it, and you are up against native Spanish speakers, and you have to score in the top 20 percentile range. Now, that top 20% is dependent on you continuing your educational track, and, if you don't score in that top 20%, you won't go to high school. Well, that is essentially what our kids that we are dealing with are up against. English is the language that what our SAT is. It's the KCPE. So at the end of what is their 8th grade year, they take the KCPE, and they're up against the rest of the country, and English is not their primary language, and that's what the test is in. So that is what we are really trying to help, is trying to help these kids continue their educational future.
The first school that EACEF partnered with was Kiramara Primary School in Nyeri, Kenya. When Andrew went to visit it on his MKA exchange in 2007, the school was in shambles. The structures were in disarray, and the first initiative that we took was to refurbish the classrooms. The classrooms were set up in a 3-classroom block and then a 5-classroom block plus a staff room. EACEF completely refurbished those, added thickness to the walls, finished the walls up so that they actually touched the ceilings, repainted the roofs, the inside was completely cleaned, proper floors were put in. The classrooms are irrecognizable at this point.
They have been having a lot of problems in the past years, and some of the problems is lack of proper clothing, school uniforms, books, and also they have a problem with food. Because as you understand, around the farms we don't have, the parents don't own farms. But some of the problems have been addressed since EACEF stepped in, and we are so grateful because this is a miracle, or we can say it's God said. Having EACEF with us for the last, now this is the 2nd year, we have seen so many changes in our school. First of all, the school has now had a new look. If you hear about 2 years ago, Kirimara did not look the way it is looking now. It used to be dull, the people were also dull. But meeting with people from America, the kids have really realized that they have a chance in life. Or at least they now know that they can make it, because they have seen people who care about them, who are concerned about their problems, and we know that EACEF is going to, or it has really motivated these people.
EACEF also partners with another school in the Nyeri community called Chania Primary School, where we're implementing a lot of the same programs and doing a lot of the same thing. The dining hall and kitchen are already being built. The classrooms are going to be refurbished next, and then the programs implemented.